Welcome to the kiwimana Buzz.
Hi everyone, this is episode 24 of the kiwimana Buzz, and this week we've got Emma and Emily all the way from England. How are you guys going?
We're good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good. The camera's not switching over for some reason, but we'll work on that. Here we go. And so you guys are coming into spring, is that right?
Yeah, sort of early summer now.
Oh, okay, fantastic. Yeah, and so how did you guys get into beekeeping?
Well, I saw an advert in Time Out magazine. I don't know if you have Time Out magazine in New Zealand. It's a free magazine we get on YouTube here. And it was talking about beekeeping and how it was a new urban hobby. And it said I could find classes in London. So I thought, why not? I went along and started a course in Ealing, the localization there. And yeah, that's how I got started. How about you, Emma?
My story is pretty much the same as Emily. I decided I needed a new hobby, and I was reading an article on urban beekeeping in a magazine, and I thought, well, that sounds fun and sociable. And I went along to the same classes in Ealing that Emily went to, and just joined the Ealing Association. And I met Emily at the end of my first year of beekeeping, and we've just been keeping bees together since then, and it's been a lot of fun.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, and you guys have got two great blogs as well, haven't you?
Oh, thank you.
And so
Yeah,
do you. We love your
yeah. Oh,
website.
thank you. Oh, really? Oh, that's great. So you're the guys that read it. That's awesome. Fantastic. Yeah, no. We enjoy splitting information, but I must say some of your blog posts are very, very in depth and detailed. So we're quite impressed by them.
Oh, thank you. We write about all our beekeeping bumbles.
Yeah,
All the things that we do wrong, we write about so other people know about them.
there's a lot of things we do wrong, so that's why the posts are long.
Yeah, that's like us. We don't mind telling people the mistakes you make. So it helps people, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
So how many hives have you currently got? And are they on your? They're not on your property, are they? They're in Perryvale, is that right?
That's right. Yes, we have hives at Perryvale apiary. We currently have 2 hives there and 2 nukes. Don't know if everyone who's listening knows what a nuke is. A nuke is like a baby hive. So we have 2 hives and 2 nukes, and we're also starting another apiary at Hanwell, which is close to where Emily lives, and we have a hive there that I think is doing really well.
It's in a church, so the vicar has let us keep it in the church.
Oh, okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
But not actually in the church, I guess, in the churchyard, is it?
Next to it, in their back garden.
Oh, I was gonna say because that could make the messes on Sunday very interesting, couldn't it? Oh, it's fantastic. And so, how long have you guys been beekeeping for? It's a couple of years, isn't it?
About 4 years now, yeah.
Yeah, I think
Oh, wow.
what, 5th year. It's
Oh,
my
maybe.
Yeah, it's my 4th year. I think Emily did it the year before me, but about 4 or 5 years between us. So, but we
Oh,
feel
so you're
like
quite. Yeah. Well, you guys are about the same time as when me and Margaret started, so
right.
yeah. Oh, all right.
I feel like the longer you do it, the more there is to learn, though.
Oh, absolutely. You never learn everything, do you? It's impossible.
Exactly.
So, what do you think's what's one thing that you wish you knew now before you started? What's the one thing? If you could think of one thing.
I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't not do it. I haven't lost the colony yet over winter. So I guess I haven't made any major mistakes, hopefully. Except I do wish I would stop squashing bees because I wear these
Oh,
I wear these like surgery gloves, like made of plastic. But still, sometimes I'll be handling a frame. I have loads of bees in it, and I'll squish a bee, and then it will sting me. And our bees are so gentle and lovely. I feel really, really sad whenever I squash one, and also it's painful.
It's painful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I suppose I wish I knew that I was allergic to bee stings before I started. But I don't think being allergic would have stopped me from becoming a beekeeper. I think we all make mistakes as we go along, but it's you learn a lot from them. So yeah, I think also I wish I knew that you had to make your own hives. I'm not really good with making hive boxes, so that would have been good to know all the DIY you have to do as a beekeeper.
Lucky you,
Yeah,
Dad.
that's true.
Luckily, my dad is very good at making hive boxes.
Oh, fantastic. And yeah, no, it's true. Right? There's a lot of DIY stuff and to do with beekeeping. We discovered that as well. So yeah, and we kind of made it into like a business. So that was quite good. Because we do actually sell beekeeping stuff all made up for people. Because a lot of beginners don't realise there's all the work involved. Eh?
Yeah, but
Absolutely.
making the frames is okay. I don't mind making the frames; they're quite fun. But making all the brood boxes and the supers, the roofs, the floors, you don't realise how useful it is to be a carpenter before you become a beekeeper.
Having the
Yeah,
space.
absolutely.
Yeah, having space to store everything. You need.
Yeah, we don't have much space in London. We've got little flats. We haven't got, a garage where you can put your kit together. We haven't got back gardens. You can just go and hammer stuff outside. So I think that's a challenge. I don't know what the gardens are like in New Zealand, but I guess you might have a garage or some sort of space to do your carpentry.
Yeah, yeah. We have a workshop and yeah, we have about our property's about 7 acres, so it's quite big.
Wow, you have lots of space.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably as big as Greenfoot, I'd say. But no, it's good. That's one thing I missed about New Zealand when I was living in England. The space and the open spaces kind of thing.
I think that's also a challenge for urban beekeepers, particularly in London. It's quite surprising trying to find a space to actually keep your hives. Lots of people are very supportive of Save the Bee projects, and there's a lot of awareness of the plight of the honeybee. People want to help. There's also quite a lack of awareness of what it means to have bees on your property. And I think some people still have a lot of reservations about keeping bees close to sort of residential areas or on their property. So sometimes it's quite a challenge to actually find a space to keep a hive. And if you don't have your own garden, that can be quite challenging. But so far we've been very lucky being able to keep them at the apiary of our association.
Yeah, there's some people with a lot.
That's good.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, just to say that sometimes people in allotments have tried to keep bees in the allotments, but then the other allotment holders have said, no, we don't want bees here. They've had to give up doing it, so that's quite sad.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Do people there keep them in their back gardens or not really?
Again, I think if you have a good relationship with your neighbours, that's probably something you can do. But again, I think I have heard it has caused some problems. And the British Beekeeping Association actually have a really good downloads on their website that gives advice to people who are thinking about keeping bees in their gardens and how to initially approach neighbours and communities before they put a hive in, because people don't understand honeybees and they maybe are worried about having hives nearby. So if your neighbour's having a barbecue, and they might think if you go out and do some beekeeping that would cause a disruption. So the BBKA have some good guidelines on that, but there does need to be more awareness raised among urban communities that keeping hives on allotments and gardens is a good thing, and honeybees aren't a nuisance, and they don't really go out to sting people. They just want to find some nice flowers to eat. So.
Yes, absolutely. That's good. Yeah, no, that's I think you definitely have to be aware of your neighbours and you can bribe them with honey, can't you? Things like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we'll have to put a link to that site you mentioned. Yeah, if you drop me an email later with a link to that information, that would be good.
Yeah.
Yep. And so, what's the most exciting thing you guys have done in beekeeping? Have you had any adventures or, any things like that happened?
One of my favourite days has been when John Chappell, the Queen's beekeeper, he actually does beekeeping for the Queen. He's a member of our local association in Ealing, and so we've got to know him quite well.
Yeah.
And he's always given us lots of support. And then one day last year, he said to us, "Oh, do you fancy tomorrow coming out with me to look at some hives together?" And so we met him at a local, Ostley Park, a local big house. And there was about sort of 10 hives there, I think. And he was making, I think it was marking the queens, wasn't he, and doing...
Yeah, John asked us on the Saturday if we could help him to introduce new queens to the hives at the Osterley apiary.
Right.
So Osterley is a lovely National Trust park, and like Emily said, John has been one of our mentors over the years, and he's really respected, and he's the Queen's beekeeper. He's been to Oman to give talks about beekeeping. He's just really knowledgeable. So we were just really excited to be asked by him, and we were just we had to go down to Osterley and introduce new queens to the hives.
From New Zealand, actually.
From New Zealand, yeah. And
Yeah.
it was a really exciting day to watch John in action, and to be his apprentices for the day was a really big honour. So.
Yes, we were going through each hive, finding the queen, and they were all unmarked.
Yeah.
So just one hive after the other.
Yeah.
And there was one hive which was particularly tricky because it turned out it didn't have a queen, but it had some virgin queens, which were still inside the cell. They were still inside. So John actually opened a cell by with a little penknife. He opened the tip, and the queen was ready to come out, and she just walked out onto his hand.
Yeah. So we watched a new queen walk out of her cell onto the hand of the Queen's beekeeper, and it was quite an exciting day. So that was probably, I would agree with Emily, that was our most exciting experience so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
All the cakes we have at our apiary as well, very exciting.
Yes, cakes and biscuits. Because I noticed from your blog you do post a lot of photos of the cakes.
Yeah, we have a lot of cakes on a Saturday afternoon. Tea and cakes. It's really, we're the Ealing Tea and Cake Society. Bees.
Yeah, the bees are just a bonus.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. And so you said that you're using New Zealand queens. Do you guys import quite a lot of bees from New Zealand?
Well, John does. John's very generous in that he does a lot of work getting the New Zealand queens imported, and he gets them all ready for the people at the apiary. He and a lot of other beekeepers like to keep the New Zealand queens because New Zealand bees are very gentle and very hard working, and so obviously when you're keeping hives in public places, it's good to have a colony with a New Zealand queen each year, because then the colony is going to be gentle and they're going to have they're going to make a lot of honey. But Emily and I personally prefer to have British queens, and so far all of our hives have been queened by our own bees. We let our bees make their own queens, so we have British queens every year.
Yeah, they fly wild, they fly high.
Yes, exactly.
They make with whoever they want.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, are your bees? Do you find your bees are quite aggressive, or not really? Because we've had a beekeeper come over recently from England, and she was saying that they're really aggressive there.
We have
How
one
do you
hive
find them?
that is very aggressive, but it's also the most successful hive. It's been there for ages. It's really well established and never seems to suffer from much disease and makes lots of honey. But it's a very feisty hive. But we've always been very lucky with our colonies. They've always been very gentle. Emily and I rarely even have to smoke our bees, so we've been very lucky, really.
And it was a long time till you actually got stung.
It was, yeah. I only got stung by the hives at Osterley.
Yeah.
I found out I was allergic when we were working on the Osterley hives with John, and I got stung. But then it was written on the hive roof, "nasty bees," and we all ignored the sign. So, but we're really lucky. Our bees are always really gentle. They hardly even fly around us, do they?
No, I don't think I remember our bees ever stinging me,
No.
except when I've accidentally squashed one.
Yeah.
No.
They're very gentle.
How about yours?
Yeah, very, very gentle. Yeah, obviously they're all New Zealand bees. Yeah, they're good.
Great.
Yeah, very good. I mean, we don't really. If we do get an aggressive hive, we generally requeen them anyway.
Yeah.
Because most of the ones we have, we sell to beginners and stuff, and we don't want to. You don't want to sell beginners aggressive bees. It's not nice.
No. Takes the fun out of it.
Absolutely. So with the bees being New Zealand bees, do you understand their accent okay?
Well, the New Zealand bees are very naughty. They tend to make lots of elaborate comb in the roof, don't they? We had one beekeeper one year. He had the bees decided to climb into the roof and make a nice conservatory for themselves, and they made a whole spirally comb in the roof.
And the other thing they do is they nick the other bees' honey.
Yeah, the New Zealand bees are always after our bees' honey, so we have to shoo them away. But they're quite gentle. They don't mind being shooed away. But we always get the New Zealand bees hovering around the back entrance of our hive trying to get in. So
you can tell because they're the yellow ones.
Yeah, because our bees are dark, and then we can see the light bees trying to get in. But our British bees usually see them off, I'm afraid.
Oh, so they're actually, so they're more prone to robbing then.
Oh yes, definitely.
I think people say that about the Italian bees, don't they? And
Yeah.
I think in New Zealand you breed the Italian type bees. Is that right?
Yeah, they're mainly Italian bees, sort of Italian mixed with just the New Zealand native bees, I suppose. But yeah, all the bees in New Zealand have been imported at some point. I think it was the 1880s or something.
That's right. Yeah, they're not native. Yeah.
No, we do have some small native pollinators, but they're not really not like a honeybee at all. So
What we do find with
that's
New Zealand bees are apiaries. They don't tend to overwinter as well as the British bees. And we think it's because they tend to stay quite active late autumn, early winter, when they should be conserving their energy in the honey stores. They tend to still be flying out quite a lot, and sometimes some of the colonies at the apiary that have been New Zealand colonies haven't overwintered as well. Whereas with our British bees, they tend to slow down at the end of autumn, and they tend to overwinter quite well. So there might be something to do with the climatisation there.
yeah, it might be. They might be more used to like longer summers in New Zealand or something.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we had an article the other day from I think it was from somewhere in England, and they were saying that they should encourage people there to plant ivy. Have you guys actually tried ivy honey?
Yes, it's very bitter.
Yeah, it's really hard and bitter. Yeah.
But some people really like it. It's a sort of delicacy. Some people will seek it out.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
quite hard.
okay.
Well, isn't it? It really dries in the comb, and you have to kind of, when you pop it out, it's like it'll crystallise. It pops out like little sugar sweets, but it's quite bitter to taste.
Mm-hmm. And some people hate
Oh,
it.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it sounds a bit like Manuka, because Manuka's quite hard to get out of the comb as well. It's kind of like treacle. Yeah.
We did have
Oh,
treacle.
okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, we had some honey that we had the electric extractor, and the extractor wouldn't get any of it out.
It was so treacly, it just wouldn't come out, so we ended up doing cut comb honey instead.
Yeah, we get the same problem with the Manuka honey. It's really hard to get out. So it's hard to spin it out. So we just generally take as much as we can out and then give the rest back to the bees. So
That's nice, that's good.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, we don't tend to feed bees here. We try to just give them their own honey. So try and avoid giving them sugar. Yeah. I think it's better for the bees because the honey's got a lot of medicine in there for them, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think you're quite lucky with your weather there as well. So the bees have got lots of chance in the summer to go out and forage. So we had quite a poor summer last year when it just rained and rained and rained, and particularly after winter, and the honey stores got very low in the hive, and very few colonies could fly out to forage to get more nectar. So we had to, that was a really bad summer. We were still feeding our bees sugar in June, wasn't it? June and July, nearly all year. But there was just,
Wow.
rain. they could hardly fly out and forage for food, so that was quite a bad summer. But this year seems to be much, much better.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. So what's the biggest issue facing beekeeping today, in your opinion, in England, in your area?
Probably say Varroa mites. When we speak to the local bee inspectors, they go and inspect all the hives in the country. They're like a government department. They will say that what kills off the most hives is generally the Varroa mites.
It causes a lot of disease, Varroa. I mean, the mite itself is a pest, but then it causes, it really weakens the bees, and so it brings a lot of disease along with it. And we have, obviously, since they have the resistant mite is resistant against quite a few of the treatments, it's quite hard to control. So I think, as one of our beekeepers said at our association, definitely in London anyway, if you keep bees, you keep Varroa. So we're keeping bees, but we're constantly trying to manage the levels of Varroa in the hive and make sure that it doesn't get to a high enough level that it causes a problem. So we have a Varroa board in the hives that we put in 1 week of the month, and we check that. So far our Varroa count is quite low, but that's probably one of the biggest issues facing us. And also I think sort of habitat loss is quite a big issue for urban beekeepers. We went to a talk a couple of years ago by a scientist from Reading University. It was with our federation has an annual Beekeepers Day, and it was a Dr. Stuart Roberts from Reading University, and he gave a really exciting talk about the challenges that are facing honeybees. And he said he identified 3 things that are really affecting bees, and one is all the pest and diseases. The other thing is habitat loss, because a lot of natural habitat is disappearing, so that's affecting a lot of insect pollinators. And also I think just monoculture, because you get large fields of just one type of plant, and so bees don't have the variety of food that they need for all their nutrients. So there's quite a few things that are a challenge to bees.
I'm particularly worried actually for the bumblebees and the solitary bees, because as beekeepers we can feed the bees if they're not getting enough honey like we did last year, but no one's feeding the bumblebees or the solitary bees, and so the honeybee isn't actually at risk of going extinct anytime soon, but there are several species of bumblebees which are threatened or at risk. So those are the bees I'm most worried for.
And also even wasps, because last year after the really bad summer, again, like Emily says, we could feed our honeybee colonies sugar when they couldn't get out to forage and the rain was very bad. But wasp populations were actually severely decimated last year in the UK because of the really bad summer. So there's a lot of other insect pollinators that are as endangered or more endangered than honeybees that maybe aren't getting as much press, and people can maybe think about sort of giving more wild spaces to sort of wildflowers and helping insect pollinators in that way.
Yeah, absolutely, it's great. And you're saying that the bees are resistant to the treatments.
There are
There's a bit of delay there, isn't there? So I think Emily commented about our Epistan, isn't it? Are they resistant to Epistan at the moment?
That's right, I think. And we use Apigard. So a few years ago, beekeepers had to change the treatments they were using because they started realising that these resistant mites were spreading, and so no one can really use them safely. Not in this area of England, anyway.
So we have to rely on sort of good husbandry methods. The London Beekeepers Association have a really good day each year where the bee inspectors come and give some really useful talks on how to manage Varroa, and they give the beekeepers an update on the latest news of not just Varroa but other pests and diseases that are affecting hives and best ways of dealing with it. So they'll give us updates on the best type of treatments, but also techniques that you can use. Like there's another technique, I think, drone culling, that can be used to monitor the levels of Varroa and also to control it. But there's it's not just one thing you have to use to control Varroa. I mean, there's lots of different things: sugar dusting, drone culling, the apiguard, shook swarm. You have to use lots of different techniques and just be vigilant throughout the year and just monitor your Varroa levels.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to keep monitoring, don't you? Otherwise, you never know what's happening, really.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, we have a question here from Prakash, and he's saying, what is the best way to start beekeeping, and what advice would you give to a beginner?
I would say to Prakash to join his local beekeeping association. There's lots of really good ones in London. So to join them, and to most of them are really friendly. So go along a few weekends and have a look at the bees, talk to the beekeepers. That's what I did before I started keeping bees. I just went along to the sessions at Ealing Apiary for about a year and just see if I actually liked what was happening with beekeeping, and to see if it suited me. And definitely, if you're joined to an association, you'll get lots of support. They'll give you advice on classes, on where to buy your bees, where to get your hives. You'll have a good community when you're learning. If you get stuck and you don't know how to do an artificial swarm, you'll probably have a mentor who will talk you through that. So I think I'd say that to anyone who's thinking of starting out, is to join their local association and get some good advice.
Don't just read a book or go on the internet.
No, don't just read a book. The bees don't read the book, so don't read a book.
No, that's for sure. Oh, that's great. What's the next question? So do you what kind of we already talked about varroa mites as the biggest pest. Do you have any other pests there? Like you don't have small hive beetles, though. We talked about that before, but what other pests do you have there? Do you have any like issues with other wild animals?
Not so much wild animals, apart from the woodpeckers and the badgers, which are in rural places. They can knock hive over. But there are lots of bacterial infections that the bees get.
The black queen virus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lots of parasites.
Yeah. One last year we had a lot of failing queens, and again it was John at our apiary who opened one of the queen cells for us that hadn't hatched, and when the queen came out, he thought maybe it was the black queen cell virus might have affected her.
Yeah.
But we do, and it's all linked to the varroa, because you have varroa in the hives. You tend to get sort of other diseases that are associated with them. Nosema is a really bad one, because I don't think we have anything to treat nosema at the moment, do we?
No, that's right, because the treatment that was used before for nosema is no longer approved.
Yeah, it's a Fumidil.
Fumidil B.
Fumidil B was a treatment we could put in the sugar syrup at the end of the summer, and it helped to treat the bees against nosema. But that's been withdrawn, and so you can't at the moment use that. So currently there isn't really a treatment you can give bees for nosemas. It's sort of like a gut disease they suffer from. The only way you can maybe help prevent nosema building up in your hive is just to have hygienic hive practices. So just to make sure that your equipment and is clean, and that if you are feeding them, that the syrup is changed regularly, and just make sure that your practices are quite clean so you don't have any build up of disease. We do the shook swarm or the Bailey comb change at the beginning of every year, where we replace all the brood combs once a year. So again, that's just helping to make sure that the diseases don't build up onto unmanageable levels. So I suppose just being having good husbandry helps to keep those things under control.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was interesting, because I read your blog about you change all the comb every year, don't you?
Yeah. That's recommended by the national bee unit in this country, the bee inspectors, so that you don't get the spores and the nosema spores as well.
Yeah, because you have these, from what I understand from the beekeepers at our association, you have these pests and diseases live alongside the bees all the time. But the trick is to make sure that the levels of the pest and disease just don't rise to a level that they cause problems. So you're just, like you say, you're just constantly monitoring that your bees are healthy, and that's one of the things you do with your weekly inspections. You're just looking at the comb, looking at the behaviour of the bees, and just monitoring that they're healthy and that there aren't any pests and diseases are rising to a level that would cause a problem.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You've just got to keep an eye on it, eh? Don't neglect them.
Absolutely.
Yep, absolutely. I'll just check if anyone else has got any other questions. Excuse me.
Asleep at this time in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not too bad. Yeah, I normally get up at this time anyway, so it's no issues. It's about 10 to 7 in the morning now, so fine. Yeah. So what are your plans for the coming year for your beekeeping?
Get some honey.
That would be nice. We got no honey last year.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Oh, really?
Well, it's that terrible summer that we had last year. So our bees did make honey, but we didn't take it from them.
There wasn't enough.
There wasn't enough to take. I mean, we like to make sure that our bees have enough honey for themselves over winter. So we only ever take honey if it's extra honey that they've made for us.
We didn't even get one super full.
No, we didn't even get one super, so we had to leave them all their own honey. But this year we've got potentially 4 hives, and one hive seems to be quite productive. So we've probably got one super of honey so far.
Yes, and I want it particularly because I'm getting married next May. Actually, Emma's going to be a bridesmaid, and I would like to have little pots of honey to give to my guests as wedding favours. So we've got to get some honey.
So we've told our bees they have to make honey this year, so they know what they have to do.
Yeah. Oh, congratulations! That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, no, absolutely. Well, you must tell them about the honey requirements.
Yeah.
You won't like to hear that one of our hives actually produced us a super in a week. Filled it up.
Yeah. We need some of that New Zealand sunshine.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, I think so. Well, a lot of our bees are in the quite close to quite bushy areas. You know, all the what do you call it? The woods there, don't you? Sort of in sort of that kind of environment. So they've got lots of feed to eat. So that's good.
Manuka honey.
Yeah, mainly Manuka and Karnuka. Karnuka is another variety of they're both in the tea tree family, and yeah, but Karnuka is not as marketed as well as Manuka, but it's just as nice.
It's tasty.
Oh, was that sorry?
What does
Yeah, it's very nice. Yeah, it's quite. Do you get Manuka honey there at all?
Yeah, I've tried it. I'm an aromatherapist, so I've used Manuka honey in some recipes, aromatherapy recipes. But it's quite expensive to buy over here, so it's not the honey I would put on my toast. It's honey I would save for special occasions.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, we just put it on our toast. Yeah, it's all we've got, so it's all we have to eat. Yeah. No, I mean, yeah. I mean, our honey's kind of a mixture of everything in the bush, really. So it's not pure Manuka honey, you know. We've never actually had it tested to see what they have a UMF factor. We've never actually had it tested to see what it is. So, oh, that's good. Right, so have you guys got any more things to bring up there at all? Oh, but Prakash just says congratulations, Emily. So.
Oh, thank you. That's very sweet.
Yeah.
What are your Varroa treatments? What do you use?
Oh, we use. Oh, I've used Epi-Life VAR, which is a thymol-based thing, which is I think it's from Italy originally. I think Epigar's similar to it, and we also use the oxalic acid vaporizer.
Oh yeah, you do the vaporizer.
Yeah, I've heard about those.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
What-
it's mainly for commercial beekeepers. I think the vaporizing method, is that right? Because it's quite a lot of time and effort. That's what I've been told.
Oh, it's actually. Yeah, no, it's quite quick. It takes about 5 minutes to do each hive.
But do
So
use
you basically just.
Is it heavy equipment?
No, not at all. It's just like it's about that big probably. It's just like a little thing with it's got like a hot plate at the end, and you just put the crystals in there and then put it inside the hive.
Do you
But
recommend it?
I'll yeah, it's working quite well. So I did half our hives like that, and the other half with Epilife this season. So, but we'll have to do a video of it and show you guys. So watch out for our blog. We'll do a video about that.
That'd be great. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
over here, the beekeepers are always looking for different ways to treat Varroa. So yeah, that'd be really interesting to read a blog on that.
Yeah, well, that's good. Yeah, no, it does work quite well. And yeah, we do that, and we just monitor some. I've been doing like sugar shake monitors, with the sugar roll.
Yeah.
Just to the good thing about that I'm finding is it's if you're inspecting a hive, it's a good way to do it. But it's an instant hit. It's an instant like count really, so you can tell straight away. But normally we do the drop counts like you guys for the checking. But that's a lot less intrusive, which is good.
And do you have any
Yeah,
problems
we
with
try and not real. Oh, we have a kingfisher that flies between our hives and eats bees.
Kingfisher?
That's a
Wow.
cute problem there.
Yeah, he's all right. He gets about 5 a day.
That's okay.
I guess you can spare
Yeah.
five bees with all your hives.
Yeah, that's right. We've got about 12 at the moment, so that's okay.
Did you,
Oh, he must get he must get stung. I don't know how he does it.
just flies too fast for them. They can't catch him.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, I've got another question from Prakash. It does sound like beekeeping can be an expensive hobby. What would your advice to be to manage costs? Oh, I'll go with your answer first, and I've got my answer after that. Have what? Sorry.
So I would, yes, that's right. I would say have a hive partner and share the cost.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And learn carpentry, I suppose.
And or have a dad who can make hive boxes. It can be expensive. Yeah, you have to sort of keep track of your equipment each year, what you have, and particularly when I first became a beekeeper, I didn't quite grasp that when you have one colony, you probably need 2 hives per colony, because when you do the shook swarm or the Bailey comb at the beginning of the year, you need a completely spare hive to move your colony into, and then if that hive does well later on in the spring, you might need a nuke or another hive to do an artificial swarm. And when your colonies start doing well and you have to start splitting them, obviously you need lots of spare hives to start putting those splits into. So I didn't really appreciate that when I first became a beekeeper. I just naively thought you just have a colony of bees and a hive and off you go. And there's actually quite a lot of woodwork involved, and you always have to, if your bees are doing well, which you hope they will do, then you always have to make up lots of super frames and brood frames, and make sure you've always got enough space for the colony to expand and make more honey. So it can be expensive. Then I suppose hopefully if you make honey and sell some, you can cover your costs, in theory.
Yeah, absolutely, you can do that. And yeah, and I was going to say, if you're in New Zealand, you can contact Kiwimana.
Yes,
The
you
address
do.
is here. But yeah, but I don't think Prakash is in New Zealand, so I think the freight would be overwhelming. It might be cheaper might be cheaper for him to make his own ones. But yeah, I agree. I mean, if you've got yeah, you can. I think you definitely have to have at least one spare hive, don't you, at all times?
Absolutely,
Even
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And what else could you save money with? I mean, you don't really need a full bee suit. You can just have like white overalls and stuff like that. And
Yeah, I mean, I have the full bee suit because of being allergic, but we have quite a lot of good suppliers in London and UK that you can buy equipment at quite reasonable. So if you get a good quality bee suit, you shouldn't have to replace that for a few years. So I suppose you need your bee suit, your gloves, the hive tool, the hive equipment. So there is quite a bit of kit that you can buy. Queen cages, If you think of any other things, we get smokers. Smokers can be quite expensive. It's nice to get a good smoker to make sure it stays lit all the time.
Yeah.
But then you can find your own
Yeah.
smoker. We tend to use, we try to use natural smoker fuel. We've been using sort of rosemary, lavender and
They
things.
smell really good.
Yeah, it smells good in the smoker.
Also,
Oh, okay.
Egg boxes, and so there are lots of things you need to buy, but then you can find a lot of the things that you need as well.
I was just thinking some of the old men beekeepers we know are very into saving money.
Yes.
I remember they were telling me that they used to get their beekeeping gloves by going into hospitals or petrol stations and taking the plastic gloves. But I don't know how serious they were about that.
They do tell little jokes.
Another thing they do is you always have to look at a skip when you walk past. For instance, if you ever see an estate agent's board, if you cut an estate agent's board up, they can make a good Varroa monitoring board. And that's actually how quite a lot of our Varroa monitoring boards are made, just to cut out a bit of estate agent board.
But you didn't hear it here.
No, we do the same thing for our mesh boards. We use old real estate signs and stuff like that, and political parties. You know, when they have the elections, they use them as well. So we've got a lot of Green Party signs, so that's quite good.
Yeah,
So,
That sounds like a good use.
because I mean, they were just gonna, yeah, well, they were just gonna throw them away, so we'll grab those. But yeah, the problem with the real estate signs is they keep stapling them, and they have staples all through them. So
yeah, they shouldn't do
They
that.
they should be thinking of the bees.
no, they should be more aware of the beekeeping's needs, I think.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
It can be an expensive hobby. But, I guess if you just prepared for that, then that's one of the things you probably need to know when you start beekeeping.
Yeah, true.
Going back to that question you asked earlier about what do you wish you'd known when you first started beekeeping, I just thought of a major mess up that I did. It was the first year I'd ever got honey, and yeah, so I put in the clearer board so that all the bees went down, so that they wouldn't be in the super anymore, and I could just come along and take the honey off. And I was really excited. I thought, finally, going to get some honey. And I come back 24 hours later, and there's no honey in there. There's just the combs, and they've all been totally licked out. At first I thought as someone come along and stolen the hives, the honey, another beekeeper, but no, because they were all too neat for that. It hadn't been cut or anything. And then I saw there were some little holes in the super, and there was like a few insects crawling in, and then realised that the wasps and the other bees must have got in, and just within 24 hours they'd taken all the honey.
Yeah, that's a really.
Oh no.
I was really lucky my first year when I extracted honey. A really kind beekeeper at Apiary, Andy Pedley, who's one of my mentors, helped me to do the process of clearing the bees from the supers before you extract the honey. And he advised me to get some black tape and wrap it all around the hive, because it literally, in the space of 24 hours, while your bees are being cleared from the supers, that's all the time that wasps need to go in and take all your honey. So yeah, that's probably something, if you're extracting honey for the first time, you don't realise how secure you have to make your hive to prevent anyone else robbing it. So that's one of the things you need to know. It's a lot of these things that aren't written in the books, and it's why it's really good to be joined to an association and have lots of good mentors to help you in your early years.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to. I think a lot of it you learn by doing. You can get some stuff out of books and off the internet, but you know, I think there's only really 3 good blogs in the world, beekeeping blogs. It's all our 3 ones. All the rest are just no good.
And maybe a couple of others.
So don't waste your time there. No, I'm just kidding, everyone. But yeah, I mean, you can. Yeah, I think just getting other people's experiences is great, isn't it? Because you can learn stuff from those experiences.
Absolutely. I mean, we've had some interesting visitors to our apiary as well. We had, I think it was a beekeeper from Africa. Was it I can't remember.
their name.
It might have been Joseph. We had a beekeeper from Africa who visited, and he gave us a really useful tip. We were transferring a colony into another hive, and we weren't sure that we could find the queen, and we put the colony into the hive, and then we had in the nuke lots of bees that needed to be moved. They're on the floor of the nuke, and they needed to be moved into the full-size hive, and we couldn't shake them out, and we were using leaves to kind of gently brush them out, and they're being very stubborn, so we didn't know what to do. And then Joseph came over and he said what they did in Africa, they just propped up the nuke to the entrance of the big hive, so that the nuke entrance and the hive entrance are aligned. And he said as the queen's in the big hive, all the bees will just walk up and join her. So we did that, and we went off to inspect another hive at around the apiary. And then by the time we walked back to our hive, all the bees had done exactly as Joseph had said. They walked up the entrance that we provided for them, and we just saw the last few just walking into the hive. So that was a really good tip. And again, we're quite lucky. We get some really interesting visitors and people at our apiary that are always giving us good ideas of how to do things and different things to try.
Yeah. Oh, Deborah DeLong.
Oh, Deborah DeLong, yeah.
We had a visitor from Ohio in America, and she found us because she'd been reading our blogs, and we were reading her blogs. Her blog's called Romancing the Bee.
It's a lovely blog, yeah, so let's try and read that one.
Lots of honey recipes and gardening tips. Romancing the Bee.
Oh, yes. Yes, oh, yeah. I have read that. It's a great blog. Yeah, it is a good one.
But that was lovely. I mean,
Yeah,
we've made so many friends. We've made so many beekeeping friends online through our blogs, and we both read a lot of beekeeping blogs. And it was really lovely when Deborah came over to the UK that she'd come and visit our apiary. And again, it's just a really nice community of bee bloggers out there that everyone sort of is very keen to help each other and give advice even online. So it's a really friendly community, beekeeping.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. The people are great, aren't they? It's a bit. Yeah, it's a bit of a delay.
Yeah,
okay. Just. Yeah. So how can people get hold of you guys on your blog? Have you got a? I know you've both got some great blogs there. I'll put them in the show notes. But for people that listen to this in audio, what's your website addresses?
Oh, I can't remember mine off by heart. It's I can send you the link.
I can tell you. Yeah, I think yours, Emily's is adventuresinbeeland.com, and I think Emma's is it Miss Epi Malufia?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll put those in the show notes, guys. And the show notes for this show will be kiwimana.co.nz/24. Probably release this in a couple of weeks, so yeah.
Brilliant. We're really excited about it.
Yeah, oh cool. And have you got anything else to bring up before we end the transmission?
Just that we hope that your bees do really well this year, and that you get lots of lovely Manuka honey.
Happy beekeeping.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks guys. Well, good luck with your honey thing for your wedding. That's really, really good. Oh, you guys stay on the line. I'll just end the transmission, and we'll you guys stay there. Wait a sec. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for joining us this week, and we'll catch you later. Thank you.